How do we defeat it? Well, with me to discuss this, Azingiswa Losi from COSATU and also an ANC-NEC member, Gender Commissioner Thabiseng Mogale, Lebo Ramofoko of the Soul City Institute for Social Justice, Desiree Gautzietsi, former mine worker and trade unionist, Andile Khailisiwe, TV presenter and founder of the Open Disclosure Foundation, Naledi Chirwa, feminist and activist, and finally, Noguzwala Mdende, director of the Icamagu Institute, which teaches traditional African religion and languages in the Eastern Cape. We also have Liesel van der Merwe, who's a member of the Portfolio Committee for Women in Parliament. We have Business Leadership South Africa. We have activists, including Sonke Gender Justice. We also have LGBTI groups, and of course, community leaders. And some men. Welcome, all of you. Now, you at home can tweet us, Facebook us, or buzz us, give us a missed call, and we'll call you right back. Listen online during the commercial breaks to hear those comments. But before we talk about patriarchy, take a look at this.
Women were at the forefront of the struggle for freedom. Today, they are ministers and CEOs, teachers and mine workers. Given the unpaid work they do in the home, women's contribution to the economy likely exceeds that of men. The Rustenburg Platinum Belt, mining country. Desiree Gautzietsi is unemployed. For 4 years, she worked in the Kuseleka platinum mine in Rustenburg, owned by Anglo-American.
Working underground, it's really a challenge because you'll never know whether you're going to come back or you won't come back. But because we know that we're making at least a good money on the mines, we would always want to go back there. Normally, when I was working in Anglo-American, I would wake up at 3 o'clock. It's a challenge for us ladies along the roads. They have to pass the squatter camp.
Desiree experienced abuse and intimidation in the mine.
Whenever you get underground, if you cannot perform your job, they would ask either money from you or the sexual favors. You just do whatever he asks you to do for you to save your job.
She joined a trade union and began to raise issues that troubled women.
We wear the same overalls as men, which is a one-piece overall. And we are not comfortable about it because when you go to toilet, you have to undress yourself.
Pinky Mosiane was 27 when her body was found in a pool of blood in a mine shaft. Desiree feels that women miners are being failed by management's slow response to cases of gender-based violence.
While making an investigation, remember you would be still working with the very same person that he can harm you because he would be underground with you daily. That would put your life in danger as well.
Government has passed a range of laws aimed at outlawing discrimination. Ministers stressed their progress on equal pay.
How far does the amendments that you've made in terms of the Labour Relations Act, the Employment Equity Act, go to addressing the fact that women should earn what men do?
I must say South Africa has come a long way, and the advantage is that these issues we've engaged with them forever as South Africa, even before 1994. So we've been emphasizing the issue of closing the gap. Government has done that. Where we are in the public service, there's no men, there's no woman. The women and men and the same salaries.
31% of businesses have no women leaders at all. Women are paid 27% less than their male counterparts. There are very few, only 7% of boards have executive directors who are women.
For many feminists, government's programs are too little too late. They argue that the whole system of patriarchy needs to be uprooted. This footage shows former ANC Deputy Minister Mduduzi Manana beating a woman in a club. ANC Women's League President Batabile Dlamini defended Manana.
The Women's League have almost become gatekeepers for patriarchy.
They also become part of the culture that they're operating in, and they become patriarchal women in order to get ahead, or perhaps that's what they believe.
You never, ever, ever lose power until you give it away.
Many young women rely on support from their peers to fight discrimination. Andile Khelesiwe has spoken out against gender-based violence, like women in Hollywood in the Me Too campaign.
Andile Khelesiwe has formally laid a rape charge against her estranged father.
I didn't do it for all these years because you're afraid of the system. We've heard and seen many cases, opened and no justice.
Back in the mines, Desiree is unemployed. She was fired after organizing the workers. She believes women must rely on themselves.
The time I lost my job, AMCU was actually not there for me. We felt so abandoned and we were angry about it. Actually, women should support each other. They should always have those committees. Even if without the union, they should just do it collectively as women.
I must say, this is a very difficult program to present this evening because these are issues that are very, very close to my heart. But I'm encouraged by the women who are here today, who have a voice, who are going to strengthen us, and we're going to remind ourselves of the journey that lies ahead. So let me start with you, Zingiswa. You represent political leadership. You are an NEC member, a senior COSATU leader. Have we abandoned women like Desiree?
Thank you very much, Reddy. From the COSATU perspective, I would argue that we have always championed the issue of women advancing it to an extent that we have already gone to most provinces in launching our structures to ensure that women in each and every trade union has a voice. I would also argue that to an extent that if one is to speak for the African National Congress, there are challenges. There are challenges also in the trade union because the space that we occupy and the space that we're at is a space that is dominantly or predominantly a male environment. How, as a woman, you then have to navigate that space has its own challenges. But of course, there are challenges in terms of advancing women emancipation on both organizations.
But we're not going to get there if we have women within political leadership in the NEC, the ANC Women's League, who are supporting these patriarchs,
Definitely.
who are doing everything in their power to reverse the little gains that we realize as women in South Africa. How do you account for that?
Definitely, I agree with you on it. If I were to speak, because now I'm introduced carrying two
We're the
caps.
ANC one, because those are
All
the ones who are supporting patriarchs more visibly.
Thank you. If I were to speak in relation to the African National Congress, and with the clip that you have just played around the issue of the president of the ANC Women's League, instead of advancing and championing women issues, but she was seen to be, even for an example, if I were to move quickly, on the issue of a national general council of the ANC, where she even said that women are not ready, women are too emotional. And
yeah, that's the new minister of women, actually, and it's actually quite frightening for a lot of us to have had a minister who says Mduduzi Manana, the former deputy minister, is not the only male abuser, as if that's the best thing to say under those circumstances. And what was frightening at the policy conference, what did she say? That she took a delegation of 6 men because women are too emotional and cannot negotiate. My desperation and the question that I have is, why does the movement tolerate such?
I think a lot still needs to be done in the African National Congress, and I think in all political parties in South Africa, because of the history that we're coming from. But we must also appreciate that it is a societal matter, because all those women, because of how you are raised and how you are made to understand patriarchy and accept it, when you are in an environment where you are supposed to lead and transform society on those matters, you begin to be reminded when you go home of how you have been raised, and you end up not doing what is expected of you from your own constituency, but perhaps consciously or unconsciously advancing an agenda that's got nothing to do with an emancipation of women.
I would start by saying the first step perhaps would be to not elect those women, especially because they hold leadership position, even though that's a societal matter. But Lebu, come on, is it really leadership's fault? Is it the ANC's fault? Do we blame our mothers and fathers, the way we were raised? And I'm just thinking about Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. I mean, she ran for the ANC presidency and almost won. Isn't that progress?
No.
Tell me why.
Because there are anti-women women. And the women in the ANC Women's League are anti-women. That's it. And it is not how they were raised. It is about power. It is about few women getting into positions of power and they themselves oppressing other women. It is about, there was never an advancement, okay, of any women's agenda by even having Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma stand for the ANC. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma stood on a particular slate that aimed to protect Jacob Zuma. So it had nothing to do with women. Really? Just because you've got a vagina doesn't make you feminist. So there are anti-women women, and the answer for women does not lie in the current political party.
Thabiseng from the Gender Commission, are you acting fast enough? And I'm thinking about your hearings into gender equality and pay in institutions of higher learning. That was in 2011. We are in 2018. It's still not resolved. Are you working?
Yes and no, already. You are right. We hardly are moving. In the sense that for the last, 3 years now, we have had a gender commission that was not properly constituted in terms of the number of commissioners that were supposed to be out there rolling out programs. That's the first thing. But finally now, on the 1st of November, it is properly constituted with 12 commissioners. So we are ready and raring to go. However, we still are not yet there, in the sense that no one will believe here when I say our annual budget. We are a Chapter 9 institution. Chapter 9s, according to the Constitution, are supposed to oversee the entire South African society. The Auditor General must oversee that the funds are used properly. Public protector, service delivery, and all of those things that government provides administrative justice. We are supposed to ensure that gender equality is achieved. It may be on a long-term basis, but we're supposed to get there. However, our budget is less than 100 million.
Naledi, you are a young feminist, you are an activist, you are loud, you are present. Do you accept that they're working, it's just that they were not properly constituted and the budget was not quite what it ought to be? Do you forgive them?
I don't forgive them. I don't accept it as well, because, you know, we have to be deliberate about fixing the problems of South Africa. The fact that Konamanje gave us a budget speech, and then on VAT exempt items, he didn't mention sanitary towels. Did you guys respond to that?
Yes, we did.
Okay, there's other issues as well. Why is equal pay not legislated in Parliament? Did you guys respond to that?
We responded to the basic minimum requirement,
wage
requirement.
It's not enough, because now we are running in a state where women spend 30%, men spend 30% of their income in their households, and women spend 90%. But under those conditions, women earn 27% less than men. It can't be fair. There's no parental justice, there's no economic justice, there's no land justice, there's no justice at all in all these sectors. And Tina Asnazi, Mama, we've never seen you coming out to say, we stand up for women at roads, we stand up for women at best, we stand up.
You're correct. Yeah. And Naledi, that's exactly the point that I think you're making, and it's a very powerful one, because there is no absence of legislation. We've got the Equality Act, we've got the Act on the Commission on Gender Commission, we have, I'm mixing them all up, but we've got 3 Employment Equity Act. All of those are supposed to ensure equality. But what I'm hearing you saying is that they are there, but you are not feeling the impact. But Naledi, again, I want to stay with you. You actually took your protest straight to former President Jacob Zuma's face in front of his ministers, and you were thrown out. Tell us about that. What was the message? What did you want us to learn?
The message was that the law is not for black women, and sometimes when the law says you are lying, you know, it doesn't mean that you lied. And we were saying also, we believe Kwezi, we believe Ufezeka, and we believe every other black woman who says they've been violated, and that we need more justice, and we need the delay of justice to be also scratched out. Queer women die every day in this country, and there's no institution that stands up for them, you know, that's solely exist to stand up for queer women. They die every day. They're ostracized from our communities every day. We see it, we are it, we become it. Sometimes we act as heterosexual women so that we can just navigate the space safely. You know, there's so much anxiety in being a black girl in these spaces where we can't even speak out loud, because when you speak out loud, then you get chuffed out, you know, of the political space or in the workspace, everywhere. You just have to be a feminist, but a good feminist.
Played safe.
Yeah.
We haven't heard from some of our panelists, Desiree, Nokuzola, Andile. We're going to hear from you in the next segment. When we return, we will emphasize these voices. Andile Khailisiwi, a survivor of sexual violence who uses her platform to speak out against patriarchy. You're watching The Big Debate.
Now it's on to you. Yeah, whenever bata tia ma di plus or na alternative I have choose for I for I simply a sharp. We are well selling about. So I give only into you. 100% on the Sanjano Lego no launcher, corruption, or creating issue. Go on and pay the rito white out. You need to fetch the cry. Maria, 1 hour and I for an I truth for truth. I would, you lay him to fail. I arena without a quarto, that's what I live. I see now over and I fail. The castor really apartheid irritated plus tower and our getting hour and the narrative about
I think it's unfortunate that in South Africa we're still facing gender-based violence, especially against our women, but I also similarly think that it's a difficult thing against men also who are facing gender-based violence against their partners. But it's even more disappointing that 23 years later we are still finding ourselves in a situation where women are still being abused, children are being abused. But also I think we need to give a support system to our men who are being abused by their partners. And I think most importantly, we need to find a common ground where we can foster a conversation about how we can bring about healthy values, as how we can tolerate each other as a society to be able to live with each other, with our men, with our children, as well as with our women. But I do think that we also need to put a conversation forward about how we can enable women to speak up, to be able to find support systems where they can be able to actually come out and say, I'm being abused, and not with just Me Too movements, but also in workplaces, also in their homes, in their churches, to be able to trust their male counterparts. And I think once we begin to actually underscore those values about how we can enable healthy conversations amongst each other as families, as churches, as society, we will move forward with eradicating violence, period, and most importantly, violence against women and children.
Now it's on to you. Yeah, whenever bata tia ma di plus or na alternative I have choose for I for I simply a sharp. We are well selling about.
Welcome back to The Big Debate. We are live on SABC 2 and SAFM, and we're talking tonight about patriarchy, the system in which men have more power, more money, more choices, more safety, just more of everything than women. And in South Africa, many women are just sick and tired of waiting for the government or business to bring about change. Now, let's just go to Andile. I mean, Andile, you've taken the entire nation into your own personal space, your own trauma as a child. And when I was watching you in that video, I was reflecting, not for the first time, because so many women and children before you have been through that, the costs of speaking out finally, and the burden of that silence over so many years. Tell us about it.
It eats you up. You can't be a proper, human adding value to people around you, the community around you, because you carry this thing. We won. And, the day that you do speak out, you're going to find, even in quarters where you thought you had support, where people are going to look at you like, oh, ufuna attention. I mean, simple example, after I opened my case in late November last year, 2 hours later, I get a phone call from some colonel this colonel, you know, lambasts me on the phone about, yeah, but the case tabo andile, mara khopolele date gore ineng. When did this happen? Because of famous, you think you're going to use the system? I'm like, oh my God. Whew, I'm even getting goose pimples right now. And then in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, me and I guys seem to hold a particular position in society. What about Uzodwa, who has to deal with this every day? So actually, yes, I'm going to walk this path in public. And if you think I want fame and whatever, I've got it. Every week, King said TV, I need it, I don't need it. But so that the system changes. Because what I heard on that man's voice was a rapist who in his mind is like, oh my God, if this one does it, then other women are going to do it. And in fact, I invite most women, all the women who've gone through it. There was a lady who's 88 years old, in a mall now in January. She hugs me and she cries. She says, to this day, I don't have peace. I was raped as a little girl. Now that I saw that you are doing it, I think I'm also going to do it. So for me, it's about teaching people, okay, the system is not for us. There is no will. That one is a fact. There's no will to help to even go back and solve cases that have not been helped. I mean, I was working with the Minister of Police now recently. We decided from 2006 to 2016, cases with sexual violence, LGBTI, that were never solved. We're going to start again. What happened? Oops.
Ma'am Nokuzola, what do traditional teachings and practices teach us about patriarchy? Does the solution lie in traditional practices?
You know, I was surprised even in our opening here with the song. The problem we as women, I assume, is for us to use the wrong platforms. For instance, a man must first see me as a human being, then as a woman. And even in our song, we're saying Nkosi Sikelela. Indirectly, we are giving them power because the one who is above is Nkosi. Nkosi is a man. So that is why they will say, even God is a man. Even Adam was a man. So what do you want as women? I think we must first change the mentality of men and women themselves. Because you find men, they are always very selective when they use culture, because they will use culture to satisfy themselves.
In fact, culture and tradition are really seen as tools with which men fight patriarchy. So do we need them?
And those men who are using that, they are first of all ignorant, because they don't know what is in their culture, and culture also evolves. And culture in the past was just based on gender roles. Gender roles that were fitting during that time. So during this time, gender roles have changed because we are both going out to hunt. We are also, to say the man is the head of the homestead. What about Nokuzola's homestead? Because I'm a single mother, I'm the head of that. So no man is the head of that homestead. So that is why we are saying we must educate both men and women. And even the terminology, I'm worried, because once I say gender equality, so that means the man is at 5. So with me, I'm at 3. So I want to be equal to you. I'm still giving that man a superior status, a power that status.
What is the ideal? What does the ideal picture look like in the workplace and in the homes? Should we not be listening to priests and chiefs telling us how to live our lives? How do we practice the ideal picture?
If I'm talking from a cultural perspective, my brother is the firstborn male, Yinkulu. I'm the firstborn woman, the Umafungwashi. So those duties are complementary. So when we are at home, we must look at the duties that are complementary. And even at the workplace, you know, at the workplace, there is a problem with men to think that human brain has got a gender. Yes. And with the biology that I was teaching, I taught the reproductive system. But with the brain, it's a human brain. Yes. There are strong men and weak men. There are strong women and weak women. Human brain is neutral.
Level, you're satisfied?
I am satisfied, but I do think that both in religion and in culture, we must own that a lot of patriarchal practices are condoned. You look at the Fezeka trial. What is in the record is saying, in my culture, when a woman has been aroused, you do not leave them like that. So I wish these voices would actually be much more pronounced, including in religion. So we do have both in religion and in culture these voices that are dominant. And it's about time that cultural experts and practitioners like Umama challenge their own counterparts around how culture is used to perpetuate patriarchy. Is the same as in churches, that churches must, we can't say, but our culture does not mean that. We need to deconstruct this culture that is being used to oppress women and this religion that is being used to oppress women.
I hope religion doesn't mean Christianity only, because there's a problem.
Once
you go to religion, because we've got the problem of the creation myth, where our men, are saying, you were taken from my rib. Forgetting that there was not even a man called Adam. It is just a story.
It seems to me, though, that all religions all religions do privilege the position of men. And I said earlier, tradition, culture being used as tools by men to fight for patriarchy and not against. But Lisa Fanemere, you are an IFP MP. You sit on the portfolio committee on women. We just have a new women's minister. Are you excited?
Not at all. I think we must be very, very clear that the political system is failing our women. The state is failing our women. To promote a minister that has just brought SASA to its knees, a minister that goes and speaks out against Kwezi, protects Mduduzi Manana and promote it into a women's presidency. What is our government saying about women? What is our government saying about women's empowerment? You know, we spoke earlier about the Commission for Gender Equality. Government has reduced their budget. With the little that they are getting, they are doing their best. You know, look at our society. Why is it that men get free condoms, but girls at school don't get free sanitary pads? Why is it that we spend more on a prisoner in jail than we spend on a lady that seeks help from a shelter? The system is working against women. The system is discriminating against women, and we have to address this. While it's important for religious leaders to speak up, for traditional leaders to speak up, the fact of the matter is we've got a political system that doesn't take the interests of women seriously. We talk about gender equality, but we are paying lip service to it.
Desiree, I mean, it's great to have you here in the panel, especially because that was your case study. We'll speak to you in the next segment as well, just to share your perspectives. After the break, we ask why women earn less than men. And we speak to women whose work is criminalized. And we will come back and talk about that and talk about what women earn as well and the salary disparities.
We should have laws and policies that are going to protect women. We should get our policies and politicians who are still violating on women, and we should still stand firm and create more marches to make sure that the government has hear more from the women. I still from the woman. I still believe that Batabile Dlamini should be boycotted from her chair because she stays there illegal. The women do not participate.
Hi, my comment is as follows. I'm in the recruitment space. I'm a recruitment practitioner, and I've personally experienced this whereby there's no equal pay for equal work in the workplace. If it's there, it's not implemented accordingly. There are policies, but they are not effectively implemented. And also, we're in a situation whereby black females are just recruited for the sake of ticking boxes for BEE points. You'll find that we recruit a black female, but they don't actually do the job. And this also is not good at all. So I just wanted to raise my comment on that, to say that policies are there, but they're not implemented. People are appointed. Some of them don't actually do the job that they're appointed for. They're just there to tick box.
Gender-based violence is a big issue, especially in the rural areas where we still have kings and chiefs who are males instead of having women who are leading, and women are only used as tools and as trophy wives in the rural areas. And we need to see more women who are leading in the rural areas because bomme hangata in the rural areas face a lot of domestic violence, and there are not enough platforms where they can actually voice out and find young people facing a challenge that when they grow up into that space, and the environment that they grow up in affects their views and makes them think that it is okay as a woman and as a young woman to be abused by a man, because the only thing they know is male being strong, because in the rural areas are male dominant, and we still don't have a lot of females who are leading in the rural space, and we need to see more women rising in the rural communities. And I think our government needs to initiate some programs, as well as civic organizations, to have a lot of programs that advocate for women in the rural areas, because I think it's very important that they're also sensitized and they're aware of gender-based violence, and they understand that it is violence, and this is not allowed and it shouldn't be tolerated.
When I think of the gender-based violence in our communities, it's so disturbing and unacceptable. I can say that, because if maybe a woman, or even if it's a man that is being abused, it creates a crack between the community and the families, and also it takes the power, if it's a woman, out of her, because he's been through her rights are being violated in front of the community.
We should have laws and policies that are going to protect women. We should get our policies and politicians who are still violating on women, and we should still stand firm and create more marches to make sure that the government has hear more from the women. From the woman, I still believe that Batabile Dlamini should be boycotted from her chair, because she stays there illegal. The women do not participate.
Hi, my comment is as follows. I'm in the recruitment space. I'm a recruitment practitioner, and I've personally experienced this, whereby there's no equal pay for equal work in the workplace. If it's there, it's not implemented accordingly. There are policies, but they are not effectively implemented. And also, we're in a situation whereby black females are just recruited for the sake of ticking boxes for BEE points. You'll find that we recruit a black female, but they don't actually do the job. And this also is not good at all. So I just wanted to raise my comment on that, to say that policies are there, but they're not implemented. People are appointed. Some of them don't actually do the job that they're appointed for. They just need to tick box.
Gender-based violence is a big issue, especially in the rural areas where we still have kings and chiefs who are males, instead of having women who are leading, and women are only used as tools and as trophy wives in the rural areas. And we need to see more women who are leading in the rural areas, because bomme hangata in the rural areas face a lot of domestic violence, and there are not enough platforms where they can actually voice out and find young people facing a challenge that when they grow up into that space, and the environment that they grow up in affects their views and makes them think that it is okay as a woman and as a young woman to be abused by a man, because the only thing they know is male being strong, because in the rural areas are male dominant, and we still don't have a lot of females who are leading in the rural space, and we need to see more women rising in the rural communities, and I think our government needs.
Well, welcome back to the Big Debate live on SABC2 and SAFM. And that was a bit of a dramatic end to the last segment. We apologize for the technical error. Moving right along, do remember, please, that we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Also, taking your calls. Just buzz us for a call back because we want to hear your voice. We are talking about patriarchy. Now, research shows that you cannot create a prosperous economy if you don't invest in women and pay them as much as men. It makes economic sense to pay men and women the same amount. Women invest their money into local economies. They support education and start small businesses. So why do we pay them less than men for the same work? It is just hard to imagine that this is going on in 2018. And Desiree, I'm going to start with you because you raised a whole lot of issues in that series. The threat of sexual violence, physical violence, but also that sometimes women minors don't know that they are entitled to bonuses and so on. Tell us about that.
All right, thank you. The first thing I'm going to talk about is that the one of the payments into the mining industry. There's a huge differences on that one because we normally have the side where they're gonna put only men. They cannot put female working there because they'll start telling you that you are weak, you are what and all those things. So now they will start paying those people bonuses that they cannot pay females. And then it comes to a point whereby if they take you there, maybe by request or something, when you get to the panel and start working, then the men will start telling you that you cannot do this. So if you cannot do it, then you'll have to give me something. It's either sexual favor or money. There are those that will demand money from you because they will tell you that my wife is at home, it's at Eastern Cape, it's at Taung, it's at Vryburg, it's where. So you cannot just come here and think I will work for you. You will have to do things your own. If you start doing things your way, then they will start telling you about safety precautions, of which you have already learned them in the training center that this is what you have to do, this is what you not have to do. But they will tell you that, like in this language, they will say, like you don't know anything. Okay. You know, although you've been trained.
I want to hear from business leadership because it's very important. I mean, these are your members who employ women like Desiree. These are your comrades, I'll call them. You work alongside them. How much pressure are you putting on them? Or are we having these conversations in boardrooms, but these conversations exclude women like Desiree?
So I think the main problem really is that these policies and these laws are not designed by people who have women as top of mind. The face of leadership, even in corporate, is white and it's male. Yes. So as a woman, you are not top of mind. So you are sort of like an afterthought. So you walk into a boardroom in corporate and in businesses, you will count, you know, very few women that are actually sitting around the table, which is a huge anomaly because when you look at the bottom ladder, you know, at the junior management level and so forth, there are more women actually there. So it therefore goes without saying that the policies within corporate are those that are designed not to advance women, not to promote women. So men are actually comfortable in terms of keeping the status quo.
Colleen, I want to hear from you on gender links. I'm coming to you just now, Zingiswa. I mean, you know, we all seem to be in agreement about what the problem is, but I'm wondering, are we using our resources, our positions enough to challenge the people who are perpetuating the status quo? I'm not in any way suggesting that the burden of achieving gender equality is ours alone as women. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think that there's an added responsibility that women who hold positions of power do have. Are we doing enough?
Clearly not. And I think where we are in South Africa right now is that we've ticked the numbers box, or we are ticking the numbers box. If we look at Parliament, if we look at Cabinet, look at President Ramaphosa. He put his 50-50 women in there. But then we have to drill down and say, who are these women? Yeah. You know, we need to get beyond jobs for the girls and get to gender equality for the nation. Because very, very few women are actually sitting in those positions of power. The majority of women are in the informal settlements, in the rural areas. They don't have jobs. They're the unemployed. They're the underemployed. They're the dispossessed. So where are we getting? Someone in this room is wearing a T-shirt that says we should all be feminists. And we should start with the president himself. He needs to stand up and say, I am a feminist. To be a feminist means to believe in equality between women and men.
Zingiswa, will you be saying that? I mean, you were on the Cyril Ramaphosa slate. You ran for the position of Deputy Secretary General. Will you be saying to the President, declare that you are a feminist? We don't want to see patriarchal women in leadership. But I'm also adding a question because we're talking about salaries. COSATU-affiliated unions like SATU, time and time again, disrupting schools, protecting teachers who are sex pests. When there are wage protests, I have yet to hear the disparity between men and women being highlighted.
On the issue of the president, of course, and we would expect him to be a male feminist, if there's anything like that, or at least a gender champion, because he can't lead the country, he can't be leading the African National Congress and be ignorant of that side. I'm
sorry, Zingiswa. I mean, I don't think he can be a feminist and still appoint Bathabile Dlamini. That's my
no.
belief.
But can I also disagree? No, can I also disagree on the fact that you can't weigh him, engage him on that appointment alone.
It's a crucial
one.
No.
Given what we I hear you, and I think we all agree. But I'm saying whether he is or he is not, I don't think it is fair that then a judgment is made solely because of that. I don't think it's fair. No. Can I be allowed? Can it be allowed? I don't think it's fair. From COSATU, because I was invited also here as a deputy president of COSATU, not as an ANC. That's why I was here. COSATU Central Executive Committee. COSATU Central Executive Committee.
Let's give her a chance.
COSATU Central Executive Committee that we have just heard spoke on this issue of the recycling of ministers and the fact that we are not happy, particularly women in the Central Executive Committee of COSATU, that we can't be undermined by that appointment. We were very, very firm about it. But look, it is done. But what are we doing about it? I think the question is...
It is done. We must live with the consequences.
No. What I'm saying is, because I'm posing a question after. The fact is, we have ministers there. The fact is, there's a cabinet there. The reality is, Minister Bathabile has been moved from social development to the women's department. And we are saying as workers, it is an insult to women. But we are saying, what are we going to do about it?
What are we going to do about it?
What are we going to do about it? That's the question that we must be responding to. And I'm saying, from COSATU, we have already said that for us, firstly, Minister Bathabile is a minister in Parliament. There is an oversight committee that Lizel is sitting at in can I be given an opportunity?
Okay, we need to very quickly.
There is Parliament that is an oversight. There is a portfolio committee that must keep...
So you are outsourcing the job to others?
No, I'm coming. Not at all. No.
You've talked about
Ready? No, wait. We are talking about the minister.
Okay.
I'm coming to our responsibility.
Okay, quick.
Our responsibility as trade unions and civil society. As civil society, and we have said as a federation, one, we are going to engage the president. Two, we are going to engage the minister and actually all cabinet, including that ministry. And we are going to say we want to test the minister by giving the minister programs that we want to see that are going to change the landscape of women.
Yeah, but she's in a tough position, isn't she?
No, she's not.
Okay.
No, she's not. No, she is not.
She's not in a tough position.
I really think that we need to speak truth to power. The point of the matter is that the minister, if we wanted to say it's not only about the ministry, why is Minister Bathabile Dlamini not the Minister of Finance? But because he cares about finance more than he cares about women, he chose a Minister of Finance who the markets will be happy with and dumped us with a minister who is anti-women.
You've got the mic very quickly. Young leader, what do you want to say? You've been very vocal there in that corner.
I want to say that if you are a woman in power, use that platform to empower us at the bottom. Do not use it for your own benefits or to get a raise or to get a position. Use it to empower us.
Is that how young people feel here this evening?
Yes, because we are dependent on you.
Sonke gender?
I just want to add on the frustration of women. We've been engaging with Minister Batabile when she was in DSD and Minister Shabangu about the National Strategic Plan on Preventing of Gender-Based Violence, which is costing our country about 48 billion, the issue of gender-based violence, and there was no response. It is 4 years now that we've been trying to do this. But also want to ask, in terms of the equal pay for women and men, us as women, are we supposed to wait until 2056 to earn the same amount that men are earning? It is a serious issue.
We'll hear from the Gender Commission on that one in just a moment, and other audience members. There are a lot of young people who have a lot to say, and we want to hear. You are not the future leaders, you are leaders now. So we want to hear from it, right? We want to hear from it. So, can we defeat patriarchy with our present leaders in place? If so, how? You're watching The Big Debate.
A larger conference needs to be created for all women in South Africa, known as the Women of Africa. And policies need to be in place to protect women from inequalities that they suffer. A hotline, a free hotline, needs to be created for women to speak loud, for women to be heard. And women should be visible in all of the government. We feel that all politicians, some of those politicians uses women issues to address their own personal issues. And once to get their power, they do not look back and say that women are suffering this and that. This year, 2018, August, all women in every city need to rally in towns for space and gender inequality, for equal income payment, same as men. Thank you.
Hi, my comment is as follows. I'm in the recruitment space. I'm a recruitment practitioner, and I've personally experienced this, whereby there's no equal pay for equal work in the workplace. If it's there, it's not implemented accordingly. There are policies, but they are not effectively implemented. And also, we're in a situation whereby black females are just recruited for the sake of ticking boxes for BEE points. You'll find that we recruit a black female, but they don't actually do the job. And this also is not good at all. So I just wanted to raise my comment on that, to say that policies are there, but they're not implemented. People are appointed. Some of them don't actually do the job that they're appointed for. They just need to tick box.
A larger conference needs to be created for all women in South Africa, known as the Women of Africa. And policies need to be in place to protect women from inequalities that they suffer. A hotline, a free hotline, needs to be created for women to speak loud, for women to be heard. And women should be visible in all of the government. We feel that all politicians, some of those politicians uses women issues to address their own personal issues. And once to get their power, they do not look back and say that women are suffering this and that. This year, 2018, August, all women in every city need to rally in towns for space and gender inequality, for equal income payment, same as men. Thank you.
Zisenda songamana zori vafumakazi vanji va abuse vanga vathu vavanna zwisongo tea zwi tshi khou bva ngauri ṱhamusi maanḓa ane muthu wa munna a pfha ungari u vha nawo ndi tshi tamba ṱhamusi muvhuso u dzhie maga anga uri anga maga ana uri ndi maga a ndaṱisa kha vhathu vha vhanna vha ye vha zwi fiḽa uri u tambudza vhathu vha tshifumakadzini a sa funa uri o vhetshela mulayo vha tou zuri.
Welcome back to the big debate on women's equality. We're live on SABC 2 and SAFM. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube. You send us your comments and join us for a second hour, don't forget that, of discussion online at 8 p.m. Women in South Africa do not feel valued or safe. We did invite former Minister for Women, Susan Shabangu, to come and tell us what government has been doing to address this. She sent her apologies. We also invited ANC Women's League President and new Minister for Women, Batabile Dlamini, to join us. We didn't get a response. We also invited the leaders of the JSC to come. They were not available. But perhaps young people here have a message for leaders in business and politics, or perhaps you have your own ideas about how to tackle patriarchy. Let's just hear. Somebody says she was never going to turn up. Who was
Yeah,
that?
she asked that she was never going to show up.
Why do you think she was never?
Because besides the position she holds, right, in power, as umama, I'm sure where she lives, she must be having other women say to her, but who are you? Who are you representing? Because at every turn, she's putting a woman down.
Every time.
Hi,
My name is Mandisa from Black Women Healing Garden, as well as .afro.com.
Can you stand, please, so the camera can
I just have a couple of things to say.
Okay, just a few, hey, because of
just a
time,
few.
yeah.
Okay, firstly, the first insult, as we all know, is Bathabile as the Minister of Women. We were previously insulted by Susan anyway, who did nothing in the past couple of years. So for you to come and sit and say that government is serious about women and actually Cyril might actually care. No, he doesn't. And he didn't care when he was Deputy President, and he doesn't care now. I mean, the fact that we have an IFP member who is a white woman, also head of the Portfolio Committee in Parliament, in charge of women. I mean, what lived experience of a black woman living in a shack?
She's a member, not a head. She's a member. And she actually highlighted the social grants. If there's reason we know what was happening at social development is because of her activism and her tireless work. I must just mention that, but very quickly.
So I was just saying, so we need to start taking accountability. We need to start actually having programs and not talking about billions that are missing that are supposed to be allocated. We have women dying every single day, being killed by their intimate partners. This is an emergency. We are being murdered. Something needs to be done.
Sure. Let's hear from you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Neo Ramafuku. I just want to say, with all due respect, ma'am, you've said nothing. You've just grasped at straws. You are sitting there and you are nodding and nodding and nodding, and I'm not sure what you're even nodding to. Even
What were you expecting to hear? What do you want to hear?
She keeps saying, we are going to. It's been 24 years of democracy. 24. You are a victim of patriarchy yourself. Because if you weren't, you would have not allowed that appointment, Kabatabile, to happen. We need people to represent us. And that's it.
Yes, carry on, please.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm a former student at Rhodes University.
Stand up, please, so the camera can catch you, yeah?
Okay, I'm a former student at Rhodes University. I was excluded for protesting against rape culture, right? I'm a gender activist, and I must say I'm very, very touched about, some of the sentiments that have been shared amongst, the panel, what the panel has expressed. Firstly, Sisi, where NEC or Kasatu, here's a case study right here. Desiree is a mine worker, or former mine worker. I'm sorry, I don't know what but she's a former mine worker. You keep making excuses. You're not talking about the effective measures that you are going to implement, that you should have implemented actually in the past. You should have called out even your predecessors. As a woman yourself, if you're so uncomfortable about the fact that gender-based violence or women's issues have not been addressed in the past, what are you doing now? You keep making excuses. You keep deflecting from the questions that lady has been asking you. Answer the question at hand. Take accountability. Secondly, Chapter 9 Institute. I'm sorry, I'm just making comments. Chapter 9 Institute. When Rhodes War references when women, black women stood up against, rape culture at their campus, right? Chapter 9 came because again, what government does is that we jump into things. We jump into things when things become public. Yeah. When women actually take a stand. Yeah. Chapter 9 comes, they say no, they stand in solidarity. We are going to look into the issue, whatnot. 2 years later, I'm excluded for the very same issue of bringing up rape culture. Like Desiree, she works with rapists. I went to school with my rapists. I went to school and lecture and attended my classes with my rapists. I'm waiting for accountability. Stop saying you need 100 billion rand or 100 million rand to actually do something effective. Okay. You don't need a budget to take a stance. You don't need
Let's hear from you. I'm going to give you a chance. to speak. Let's just hear, Nonhlanhla, you represent the LGBTI community. We know about issues of corrective rape. We know about the erasure of your identity and your voices. Just tell us your sentiments.
I think the frustration that we have, and I think...
Can you stand up, please?
Oh, God. All right. I think the frustration that we have, and I think the sentiment has already sort of started coming through this afternoon, is, we talk about we need to rise, we need to stand up, we need to fight for our rights, we need to be vocal. But I think my frustration as somebody who's an activist and also a head of an organization that fights for rights of minorities is, the people that tend to be at the forefront is still the women. The people who put their lives on the line is still us. And when you've put yourself on the line, you find that the people that you've thought are your comrades, the police, the people in justice, the people who Abagwa Health, become also the people that sort of hinder from you to access some services. And the question becomes, yes, we can talk a lot about as women, we need to rise, we need to do something. The question is when I stand up and I rise on a point, who is there for me? And at most times, the sisters that I want to be there for me are the sisters that turn against me. And of course, that's where patriarchy is a problem, because a lot of us have got indoctrinations that have put us in spaces where when I say I need your support, you say, yes, comrade. But when we start marching, you run behind me.
Okay. Just speak. You've got a microphone. There are a lot of things that were directed at Chapter 9 institutions like yourselves. The young people are saying, okay, money is, of course, a problem. We need money, but you don't need money to do certain things that they're expecting.
Absolutely, Reti. And I just want to say, I think I agree with the anger, the sentiment, the everything that is coming out today. I just want to clarify a few things. With regards to what has happened, not only at Rhodes, but at all the universities, the Gender Commission has actually engaged the leadership of it. In fact, when you started, it's one of the, what you call it, that you mentioned. Reports have actually been issued in that regard, and follow-up processes with regards to university, because what we are doing at Gender Commission is we are not going to be running around to newspapers and saying this and that. We want to say to the very same institutions, what have you done so far? We sat down with you, you accepted, we identified together. Are you holding them to account? We are holding them to account. In fact, in July or so, there were meetings again, another round of meetings with universities to say, what about this, what about that? However, we need to be realistic. If we have a template that is patriarchal in nature, it's going to be very difficult to maneuver around that, because they go back and say, ha, 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 and not do anything about it. So the template within which we are operating as a country, not only as Gender Commission, is patriarchal in nature.
It sounds as if everybody wants you to actually go to the president and say, this is what we demand. The time for negotiating and obfuscation and president's prerogative is over.
Yes, I hear also the frustration, but I think also, Reddy, quickly, we must also appreciate that I am from the Federation, COSATU. So I cannot speak on behalf of government. I cannot speak on behalf of the ANC Women's League, because I'm not even a member of the ANC Women's League.
We understand, because we're running out of time, but because you interact with them as your comrades, very quickly.
Yes. Now,
you challenge them enough.
May I be given opportunity? Interacting with them.
We've got 2 minutes till the end of the show.
Interacting with them, that's what we do. But I must also highlight the issues that COSATU has advanced. We have now in the country a maternity protection that is, maternity leave that is 6 months, which is now legislated. It is because of the work that COSATU has been doing at the level of NEDLEC together with business. We are also, as COSATU, at the level of NEDLEC, talking about equal wage for work of equal value, which is also part of the legislation in terms of the amendments, in terms of the labor law. We have also run workshops together with the ILO on male gender champions to address exactly the same issues that we are confronting with here. We are also saying as a federation, on the 1st of May, government will be implementing a national minimum wage, which is going to address particularly the sectors where women are dominant and where women are being
They're doing something. How do we bring it all together? We've got 1 minute. How do we bring it all together?
Since we started the Rise Young Women's Club, in every month, 1 young woman has been killed. And that must be the measure of whether or not we are doing something.
And these interventions?
That's all.
These interventions that Zingis, are you encouraged by them?
Maybe
we're not covering them enough as a media, maybe?
Mama, you know what, I'm so sorry, but you guys are not doing enough. In fact, you're not doing anything to begin with. Now, like for instance, at UP, we had workers insourced in 6 months. Now, how took 23 years and still did nothing. So following the template of patriarchy, following the rules of patriarchy, will have no result. You're going to meetings year in and year out, talking about the same things year in and year out. 23 years later, you want to talk about the maternity leave that's extended with 2 months. It's not enough, and we can't breathe. We are dying every day. Do you understand the urgency of that? Black women can't breathe.
I agree, but it will take ready all of us.
We're going to have to leave it there. We're going to have to leave it there. We will have to leave it there. Women in South Africa deserve to be treated as equal, to live in safety and to have control over our lives. Do we have the power to defeat patriarchy? You decide. If you missed today's debate, catch the repeat on SABC News Channel 404 tomorrow. That's Sunday at 2 p.m. Thank you for joining the big debate. Stay tuned on YouTube and Facebook now, because we're not going anywhere for another hour of this conversation. Goodbye.
As soon as we can get rid of religion, you know, religion made my mother two different. When the Bible preaches the different story, to say the two shall become one in spirit, that because of religion, my mother went to another church and my father went to another church. You understand what I mean? So as soon as we can get rid of religion and politics, it is not usually about power, but what institutes power. It is nothing except for politics. So back then, during the times of kingdoms where
Welcome back. We are going on online with this very important conversation around patriarchy. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of traumatic lived experience, and we're going to try to give it all expression this evening. There are a lot of points and criticisms that were directed at COSATU/ANC, so I will give you a chance to just address the specific matters that Naledi raised earlier.
Thank you. And I'm appreciating the fact that when people see COSATU, they see the ANC.
But we must, because the coalition partners, and even during the Fezega, we call it the Kwezi trial colloquially, but we know what we're talking about. It was the alliance that rallied around Jacob Zuma. So we can't kind of separate you at a certain time. So carry on, please.
But I'm saying that COSATU's, what we have done, for an example, there are domestic workers here, Satsau, whom we work with, in ensuring that their working conditions, they can speak for themselves, they are seated here. We work with SWEAT. It's a pity that SWEAT is not here, the sex workers. And I'm saying the work that we do as a federation, where we need to take our struggles, in terms of the laws in this country, we can go to NEDLEC and negotiate in terms of policies and how policies should look like. If we're unable to meet each other there in terms of agreeing, that's why we will apply for Section 77 to go on strike. And what we expect, and this is what we are not getting also, we expect that civil society will also work with us and march with us when we're raising these issues that at the center of it are affecting ourselves as women.
I'm going to give Sonke, hold on. I'm going to give Sonke a chance because I know you're always there in the streets. I know you had an initiative around taxi ranks. You had an initiative, a night vigil at police stations where women are sometimes vulnerable. So civil society seems to me to be there, to be visible. So yes, we're going to get to that. She is inviting us to build a bridge. Will we build a bridge with unionists who are committed?
Yes, I think we need to do that, but we need to be very conscious that we need to engage men in that space, because now we're talking about patriarchy, and as we were engaging informally, we have a sense that women also in those spaces are suffocating. So let us engage men in those spaces and say, you know, patriarchy, it's not right. We want it to come to an end, and that is why as Sonke Gender Justice, we worked with Santaco and we faced them and say the violence against women in the sex industry is not acceptable. We want you men in that space to stand against gender-based violence, but we're not pity-patting with them and saying, you know, we don't beg them. We're saying to them, violence against women must come to an end. The fact that a 9-year-old girl will be raped and burned, and then in this South Africa that we're living in, it is non-acceptable.
You mentioned rural women, and again, a vulnerable sector of our society that even in conversations, they are forgotten.
Yeah, that is why I was listening to her. You know, they are talking about urban women, because even with themselves and the women in the politics, when they go to the so-called rural areas, they go to the town halls. They don't go to the women in the rural areas. When they go to the town halls, they speak English. So they are not even... You know, so the women in the rural areas, they don't even understand what they are talking about. And even the domestic workers, these are the domestic workers, they don't talk about the other domestic workers. So that is why I was saying, even with these women who are claiming to be fighting for other women, they are not fighting for all the levels of women. And number two, let us be honest, you'll find that these women who claim to be fighting for men, in the evening they are being molded by these men. So even with them, they don't. Even with gender commission, you'll find that gender commission who criticize African culture to the women there. So even if we are oppressed, we won't understand, because Tina Singasemlilweni. So wait for us to say sugar chaser, because even at home we don't know what those men are doing. I want to make one or two examples. Already I know the circumstances our women find themselves in. For instance, the passing of Ukukomfa. You know, I'm a rural, that is abortion. Now, we are only looking at the women abadlakazeliswayo kuthiwa ningala madoda pregnant ababantwana. So nothing is said about them. And again, even with sex workers, you will find that abafazi bazibona bekula ngxaki because of circumstances, but they are selling this sex to the very same men. So kuthiwa ningala madoda. So we are satisfying, we are operating in a patriarchal mindset, satisfying these men.
Lebo? You know, I want to go back to the interaction between Umama and Unaledi. And I think as older women, we need to realize that perhaps the way we have done things has not been adequate. Yes. And I think for me,
24 years.
that the kind of solidarity we need is to say, what is the kind of leadership that women like Naledi are bringing? Because, you know, very recently I was at a meeting in Nedlek, okay? And it was my first meeting. In fact, it was Friday. I was surprised at the pace at which things move. And I actually think that rather than it being like a debate between you and Naledi, as older women, for me, when I see them, when they get into the IEC, and without even planning it for months, they can stand there. And after 10 years, when this country had forgotten Fezeka,
and without any money,
let us all agree, okay? There can't be a debate. Whether we are in political parties, we are in NGOs, we are in political leadership, that we've got this thing right. And I think for us, in positions of whatever power we've got, we need to be saying, how do we harness that energy? Because you and I, if we were at the IEC, perhaps the burden of our power would have said, oh, can the CEO of Soul City really stand in front of Zuma with a sign? But she can do it. So let us not have
Build
this
a bridge.
either-or
Build
thing.
bridges.
Let us harness what is informal power that they've got, because they can stand in front of the president. What we need to do, us, is to take their voices to the tables where we sit, is to go. I understand that you cannot tell Ramaphosa what to do. But I expect you, as a comrade and a sister here, and all of us, I speak for all of us, to be saying what has happened is a travesty of justice, it's an insult to women, and we are all going to be comrades. You'll be in your corner, she'll be in her corner. But let us all work together as women.
Let's just hear from Africa Tikkun. There are young people who are working to highlight teen pregnancies. They've got a message for us this evening. And I really think that, you know, I'm encouraged as a South African seeing young people coming here to face us all and to speak.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Nomthanda Smelani. Honestly, I'm angry and furious. This is incomplete. We're having a dismal argument over nothing. Where are the people with the power? Why aren't they here to tell us what's going on? And honestly, why are we still reshuffling? There is a mistake. We don't have to reshuffle anymore. Can we find new people who are young, who can think for our future instead of reshuffling?
You also want to speak from Africa Tikkun. Come, stand up. Let's hear from another young person. Let's listen to her.
Okay, greetings ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to seem to be moving backwards, but we've been ignoring this thing. Firstly, patriarchy starts somewhere, and that somewhere is in our homes. From the moment that we are born, we are taught that pink is for girls, blue is for boys. There's no such a thing. So if we limit this and we deal with this in our homes, it's going to be a better thing. We wouldn't be here because basically government cannot help us now. So let us look backwards from where we are born, where we are raised. Like Mama said, a 9-year-old would be raped because that 9-year-old is taught that her uncle is allowed to touch her wherever. So if we deal with that issue, that is why us as Africa Tukunyanga Benumen, we deal with this. We teach youth like us and younger kids to not allow such things because basically our parents cannot teach it to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I mean, thing is, and that's the frustration, that the people who are in high office seldom want to come and speak to the people. They make speeches, they have the budgets, but we don't see them, we don't feel their presence, we don't feel the impact. Maybe we can give you a copy of the show and you can give it to your comrades, including Cyril Ramaphosa, to tell him that the women are very angry and disappointed. And there's a sense, there's a debate going on that it was a strategic move because that ministry will be collapsed and so on. And my response to that was, that's not the kind of ministry that you play with. You don't play political games. You either have it and it does serious work or you don't. So that's it. Andile,
what does it do? What does that ministry do? I mean, somebody said, yes, it's a state of emergency in South Africa when it comes to issues of gender-based violence. But have you heard or seen one person, one male, Cyril or Ubaba before? Have you heard them say anything about the status of women in South Africa? No. So what would happen if,
well, I did
if
hear
all
the former
women
president talk about how women must have babies because it's good training.
If women remove themselves from your
and didn't he say at some point that he wishes he had a Venda woman because Venda women are so respectful? Remember, he said that. So that's the kind of thing that we want you to stand up and say, hey, you will not say this. We will not tolerate it. But Lisa?
Sorry, just to finish. These gender violence issues should not be used. Do you know that last year, towards December, just before they start the whatever was happening with the, no, not the 16 days, in the ANC, I get accosted and told in no uncertain terms that I will speak out as loudly as I did about Umanana, saying that the current president now has raped or molested a boy. So what we need to, somebody's telling me to say this, and if I don't say this, then I'm in trouble with my family.
Oh, okay. I want to be sure that I understand.
Yes.
So a politician says you must say the current president has done this,
so that he wouldn't.
So it's a political game. They're taking an issue that is a real nightmare.
Yes. But this happens every day. Yes, so maybe we should look at solutions for ourselves and stop looking at this government. If women were to remove themselves,
Liesel, you're saying?
Yeah. Really, I want us to remember that the Department of Women in the Presidency gets 200 million rand, and Kandla's upgrades was 249 million rand. Wow. So I want us to remember that, because that is the value that they are putting on women's issues. But secondly, I want to tell you also the issue of gender-based violence. It is a crisis. You had Minister Shabangu telling us it's not a crisis, it's only a problem. When people are dying on a daily basis, do you have leadership that tells us that it's only a problem that can be solved? People are dying on a daily basis. When we go to Parliament and we want to debate these issues, men will tell us, oh, do you want to debate gender-based violence again? It's getting boring. It's not getting boring. And that's what I want to say. You know, we as women, whether my color, whether I understand issues or not, I see myself as a feminist, as a gender activist, and when I go to Parliament, despite being very unpopular with raising women's issues day in and day out, that's what I do, because that's what I'm passionate about. And I want us to say to each other, we must walk this journey together. We cannot look at men to solve our problems. We have to help one another, we have to give one another a hand up, and we have to stand together, because we are facing a crisis as women, and we must solve it together.
I'm going to come to you, Nokzola, but Desiree, I just want to go back to that clip, because I don't want you to leave here feeling that you have not been heard. I wonder, when your colleagues, your male colleagues, ask for sex, which is violence, if it's forced, of course, in exchange for assistance with whatever, or they want money so that you can feel safe and so on. What do the other men say? I'm just curious. Take me to that mind shaft. What do the others say? Do they walk away? Do they get involved? What do they do?
You know, in mining industry, there's this tendency of being independent, but there's this thing of men that would always be ignorant. You'll see that you get to such harassment or the sexual whatsoever.
Soliciting.
Yes. So then others will just laugh and go.
laugh
when
and
you,
go, I
yeah,
knew
when
that
you
was
come
coming.
back and report, they will start saying, it's not serious. Those people, we passed them on the panel, they were not doing anything. But it's not all men. There are men there underground that they are there as our fathers, that they are there to help us, not getting anything in return.
Okay. Ma'am Nokuzwala, I mean, it was raised earlier that patriarchy starts in the home, that it is practiced in the home, and then we go out into this world and we're feeling vulnerable and unsafe. Just from your beliefs, from an African perspective, where does patriarchy start and how do we unteach it if it's in the home?
First of all, we must understand that the term patriarchy is foreign to us. So it's going to be difficult to equate these two. For instance, I think she's at the age of my grandchildren. My granddaughter is talking about the colors pink and this is Western. This is not us. But if you come to us, I must be honest, I'll just briefly give two examples. In my language, for instance, kutumtana wazwangu nini.
So the child is known by its mother.
Is known by his mother. You just tell this husband and he believes you and he has got to believe you. And sometimes there is again another saying, when the child is crying non-stop, the mother-in-law will say, Makoti, kaupume phandle. That means get outside. It's because it may happen that this child is not a Dlamini, is a Tolo. When she goes out, she will call the real clan of the child. So at home, to be honest, the mother is in charge. But now, this law now, they are Western. That is why they are selective. That is why in KZN, we were told that there was a girl who was beaten up because she was wearing pants. Because they were saying, in our culture, women are not supposed to wear pants. And I was interviewed. I said, they are ignorant, those men were saying so. Because the pant, iblukwe, comes from Afrikaans broek. Ilokwe from Afrikaans rock. Otherwise, the pant came with the white people. Before that, we were all wearing skirts. So
Men
our
and
culture,
women.
if we go and teach them, call them, and tell them that, Abuti, you're making a mistake. This is not our culture. This is a new culture.
How do we challenge things like virginity testing? That is, of course, only for women. I remember in KZN, there was an incentive. You get a bursary if you pass the virginity test. I mean, it's those kind of practices. And somehow those who speak out against it are silenced as not insulted and accused of not respecting culture. I also want to talk about circumcision and all those body bags that come out of these so-called circumcision schools. I remember challenging one MEC in a province where the death toll was high, and her response to me was, I can't speak about these things, I'm a woman, I can't even ask what's going on. And I thought, at which point do we privilege that over justice for those boys who died there? Just teach us
I will
there.
briefly answer. Okay, the first one.
If you don't speak for yourself, no one will. I'm coming to you now.
The first one about the so-called virginity testing. In the first place, again, this is new. Ukuti, if virginity testing is done in a stadium or whatever. This was a women's secret, private. It was private, done at home, not outside the home, and done by people who are relative. It was a secret. Not now, but now it's commercial.
But
now.
do we even value it now, wherever it is?
Then
Should
I've
we
got,
even
I've got
have
a
it
problem
now?
once it is commercialized. Once I should pay 10 rand for my child to be so-called tested. So it is corrupted now. Coming to the, I don't want to say circumcision. I want to say initiation.
Initiation, that's what I wanted to. Yes, that's the word I was looking for.
Because we must also understand that each rite of passage has got 3 stages. The first stage is when we all were all involved. We see the girls singing for their boys and women called Amazibazana excited about this. And then we give this boy to the men. And there is only this boy and those who have been circumcised. It's supposed to be taught on how to be a man. The fathers are irresponsible now. That is why they are dying. It's the same thing already. Even in the girls' initiation, men are not supposed to be there. ejakeni.
So you're saying these practices are good, but it's the way they are being practiced
It's
that's
the way
the problem.
they are corrupted now by the very same men, because they become drunk and will come home and say, hey, then that's the weakness of men.
Okay, I'm coming to you just now. You had a comment?
Hi, I'm Khalpa Lele. I'm also from the Black Women Healing Garden. Liesl, I have a question for you since you're in Parliament and you're a gender activist. Abortion is legal, but black women, young women, are dying because of illegal abortion clinics because they are desperate. What is the conversation in Parliament? The second question is transgender women, transgender men are dying. This is you're a gender activist. What is the conversation in Parliament? I've never heard anything about that. What is going on in Parliament? What are you talking about?
I just want to add that there is a current advert of the Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, talking about healthy abortions. But if you go on the health, because I did, if you go on the health department website, there's nothing about that. So we seem to be observing certain periods, and then after this month, there's this campaign, there's that campaign. But yeah, so these are fair questions.
Thank you, Rudy. I think it's a very good question, and that's what the point is that I was trying to make earlier. The focus on women's issues in Parliament, as soon as you raise it, it's pushed to the side. There's never sustained focus on women's issues. That's also why you've got a dysfunctional women's ministry. The women's ministry only pays salaries. It doesn't drive issues. It doesn't look at women, the state of health and how it affects women. It doesn't look at LGBTI issues. And that's what I'm saying, is we need to stand together. We need to raise these issues at Parliament constantly, even if it means that we are unpopular. And I mean, the issue, for example, gender-based violence and how it's treated at Parliament. For example, President Zuma announced a National Council Against Gender-Based Violence, just to give you an example. But it was never funded, so it closed down. So not one life was saved. And what I always raise at my 16 Days of Activism campaign debate, why do we come to the same podium to debate the same speech and we haven't saved one life? What is the purpose of that? And that's what I'm saying. We need to shift focus. We need to focus on these issues solely at Parliament because we are losing lives and we are not doing enough.
That's why political leadership is important. We can't just be nonchalant about the ministries, the people who head those ministries. It's not just
Reggie, I think you are spot on. Political leadership is very important, and therefore all of us here have got a duty to participate so that we do not send anybody lest we send the wrong person. We go ourselves. We set the bar for ourselves. But I also want to say the home. The home is where the biggest hypocrisy is. Umama was talking about how the Gender Commission sometimes talks against culture. We are against ukutwala and unapologetic about it. We are against ukungenwa and unapologetic about it. Ukungenwa, by the way, is when the brother dies, then you get to marry your husband's brother, those kinds of things. And the young boys who are forced into circumcision, guba indota. You know the biggest issue, ambalula webotoni engeni to
whisked him off.
Yeah, whisked him off, and you know those kinds of things. So what I am saying, what I am trying to say is, we cannot as we cannot as members not want to be participants. Yes. Let us participate, lest we end up with the batabiles of this, what you call it, and keep pointing fingers. Yes.
Lebo?
I like the conversation about it starts in the home. And the reason why I want it is that I want us to be very careful not to overburden women. Yes. Because we are living in a country where 60% of children are growing up in single-headed households. 14% of children whose both parents are alive are living with them. So there are men, some of your friends, some of your boyfriends, some of your brothers,
some of you,
you, abanye benula amadoda, you are sitting with ama firstborn now 15. Yes. No number 15 we firstborn. And you are only going to acknowledge the firstborn of the woman you marry. And you are going to go to OPW and people are going to say, woo, he's finally gotten married. So in these homes, the other injustice women are failing is that we are bringing up children. We are bringing up this nation on our own. Yes. When children have both parents and only 14% of children, they go home every day and they see their mother and father. Please, all the men, Tell your brothers, your boyfriends, your whatever.
Yourselves.
When you are sitting in your shibin or wherever you are sitting,
boardroom.
say
even.
to somebody,
Boardroom
after this, are you going to your children or where we are going? Because this home, we are saying, is where it starts.
Indeed.
The men have decided
They're absent.
to
They vacated the
abdicate
space.
themselves.
Okay, yeah, we're coming. Yeah, you've heard the mic. We're going to hear from some men in the audience in just a moment. I'm coming to you in just a moment. Okay. But let's hear.
Sanbonani, Igama Ukosi from 119 campaign.
Let's listen.
My concern is, as Usisi and I was saying, abortion has been legalized, but still my services are working. As our campaign, we did research. We went to local clinics and hospitals. Still, you get there, they give you a date where it's prior to your due month. Maybe they give you an appointment for 6 months. By the time you get there, it's too late. Or you get a sister or a nurse, someone who's supposed to assist you. Because of our religions, why she cannot do it. Number two, Umama was talking about uklolwa. I tend to disagree. Whether it's done privately at home, still it's not okay, it's my choice.
Yes.
And number two, when Ugya entabeni abafana, the initiation still wrong. Because a lot of things, people come back dead. It's not because of it's because of something like Inleba. We've seen it, maybe some of us have seen it in Inleba.
Yeah.
There are a lot of secretive things. Once you see what's supposed to be unseen, you're in danger. Even our government, our system, everything, guys. We've been to platforms, we've been to some workshops everywhere, but still all we do is talk, and our promises are there. And I like what Umama Lebu said, use us, youth, because sinala energy, as Mamela and see how far we will go. I mean, guys, it's been long. Yeah, understand? So guys, come on. And it's not fast, it's as well. Because I come to you, explain the problem, and besides, instead I use the grinding stone to grind my problem.
It was, it's not done now.
It was. So hold on.
No,
what I'm hearing is that they said even if it's done the right way, it's still a violation and it's not a choice of the girl.
No, I was saying already, it was private then. Now it's no longer done even private. I'm not talking about the commercialized one.
I think what they're saying is that even the way it was done then, as private as it was, Mam Noxol, I think what they're saying is that even the way it was done then, as private as it was, it's still a violation of the child.
And do the boys do it?
All right.
Do boys get tested?
Boys don't get tested for their virginity. That's what they say. Yeah.
Still.
So let's hear from some men. Absolutely. Let's hear from some men in the audience. We'll start here.
Thank you very much.
Let's hear.
My name is Lechai Mui.
Let's hear.
Is the mic on?
It is on.
My name is Lechai Muilo, right? Us as men here from the panel, it seems like we are painted with the same brush. We are not sack of potatoes. That
listen.
When one is rotten, every man is rotten.
Who painted men in what way?
Mama here, when she speaks of us, she speaks of us. You see, that is we need to be reconscientized.
Let's just listen.
As young boys and as men, because we are born into this system of patriarchy. Now, when we have to change it, don't exclude us as men. We need to be part of that, because we are the ones, and I'm so sorry that I'm a man sitting here, and we are the ones who are abusing you as our women. We are the ones that are raping you. But this is the system. The same as apartheid, the same as apartheid, the same as... You see?
Okay.
You see, that is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
That is what I'm talking about.
Okay. No insults, no rude language. Just hold on. You can't tell. Don't tell her to shut up. Don't tell her to shut up. No. Whoever told you to shut up, that's not how we do things at the big debate. All right. You just finish your point.
Yes, that is the system, right? We need to undo that system. But don't exclude us. My son.
But hold on. I want to understand what you're saying. Because you've raised a whole lot of issues. When it comes to don't exclude us, I'm just asking, do you want to be invited? Do you not see the society around you calling out for your presence and your activism? What would you like to see happening for you to feel included? Shouldn't you just get up and get there and do this activism?
Let me clarify that.
Yeah.
the panel here is painting us, like Mama was saying. What I'm saying is that she was saying, she was saying, let us, we cannot depend on these men to help us to get out of this patriarchy. We cannot replace patriarchy with matriarchy. We cannot. We need to undo these systems, right? My boy and my daughter need to compete equally, right?
But they won't compete equally if your girl is more vulnerable to sexual violence, exploitation, and low wages. So I'm trying to understand what are you saying? Are you saying that our conversation here is saying that men are, and therefore, even if that's her belief, why do you not look at the society around you and see that it compels you, it demands your activism?
As a man, I acknowledged that we are doing wrong to our women, right? But we cannot.
You don't own women, not our. Not our. You don't own women, not our. Men don't own women, not our. We don't belong to men, not our. Not our women.
You see?
Let them. Okay. All right. Okay. So. Okay. Wait. No. Let's. It's okay. The mic. Your mic is still on. What just happened here? What just happened here is exactly my challenge to you. That you've just used the term "our women," and women hate that. Women hate that. Feminists hate that. So what I'm saying is that's a sign that there's a lot of education that needs to happen, and you must take the first step rather than wait for the invitation. Would you take up that challenge?
I will.
Okay. Thank you very much. Zingiswa, you want to?
I just wanted to say, perhaps in response.
Okay, let's listen. I'm coming to you just now.
I want to say in response that at no point here did anyone say that men here are the ones, but we are talking about the system. And as soon as men begin to appreciate that they've been beneficiaries of that system that has made women to be having such a conversation, and if men who believe that they want to change the system, of course they can't wait to be invited, they must be the ones that are having conversations with other men whom will come to themselves and brag about what I did to her, and I'm going to this one, they have a responsibility, because the conversations that we're having here, it's about us women and how we are feeling imbokodo estinezeleyo, and the men have been beneficiaries. And what we are trying to do by having such discussion is for men to begin to appreciate, just like we said whites must appreciate that the system of apartheid had benefited them. Men must also appreciate that patriarchal system has benefited them.
But
that's the
my brother, and
that we're having.
I'm glad that Zingiswa raised it, because that's how I was going to help you. That in the same way, when we talk about racism, which is a global supremacist exercise of white power and privilege, we never not approach it by saying that don't paint all white people. It's because we understand that it is a system that has benefited. So maybe if you start thinking of patriarchy not as painting you, but as a system that has benefited you because of your gender, maybe you can reflect on that and then talk to us another time. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, it's so impressive that the government has women ministries, in church organizations, women ministries. But if you think that the other gender is wrong and other gender is right, you're totally wrong. All the gender are wrong. Right? Get me very well.
I want to hear him. I want to hear. I'm going to hear him. I'm going to hear him.
Listen.
I want to listen to him. I want to hear him. No, hold on. No, wait. Okay. I want to hear what he has to say so I can react to it. I do. Please carry on. Carry on, Baba. Carry on.
Okay.
Let him
Listen,
finish. Let him finish at least.
I have a message for
Let him
gentlemen.
finish.
And also I have a message for ladies. I'll start the message
him
for
finish, please.
gentlemen first. Ne? All right. In the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 6. Listen, guys. Listen. Just say this.
They don't want religion because it's been oppressive. It's been oppressive system. Nobody's going to listen to it.
I will preach. You don't care about that.
Okay.
Sit down. Just sit down.
Bring my microphone.
Sit down. Don't preach to us. We are proselytizing now. We're not Christians. Turn. Book of Revelation. Turn.
Okay. Okay, there's nobody can hear us because we all shouting at the same time. Nobody can. We're not going to go there. I think in respecting the mood here today, we will defer that scripture reference, and I'm sure there'll be a time and place for it. But are you saying this is not the time and place for it? Fine.
Yeah. Honestly, and I want to plead to the men that are here. We are at a stage where in this conversation, rather than rise on a point of defense or explanation, can men just listen? The pain that women are feeling is real. She has just told us she was raped. There is something, dear brothers, that is called being triggered. Okay? So please don't personalize this. If you want to be constructive in this gender fight, okay? Even if you go and learn to be a lay counselor, there's a point where they teach you that listening is the most powerful thing that you can do. What we are asking of you here is sit down and listen.
They must not be defensive.
Listen,
lady, you were saying?
Because this pain is real. If we can all stand up here and say how many people have been raped, which is a real issue, I am sure almost all women here will stand up. So this is not either or, but us men, but us women. I am asking for men who have never walked in our shoes as women. Humble yourselves and listen. That's all.
And then Naledi
Molweni bethu igama lam ndinguVeronica Nomava Machobeni. Ndiphuma kwi organization iRivoningo Women's Forum.
Speak up, Mama.
Igama lam ndinguNomava Veronica Machobeni. Ndiphuma kwi organization iRivoningo Women's Forum. Inhliziyo yami ibuhlungu kakhulu. Ndibulele futhi noba ndifumane lithuba lokuthetha. Kuba ngani namhlanje singomama. Kubuhlungu ukuthi kuba ngantoni abaninzi baphelelwa imisebenzi. Balinde iUIF sabo bangazifumani. Sihlala kwindawo ezingekho right singomama sizingo single mother. Kuba mina ngoku ndihlala kumnyama ndawo. Kunzima uba manlight kufuneka ngisebenzise iparafini. Ngelo xesha ndinomntana kufuneka eye esikolweni. Ndinabazukulwana kufuneka bethini ndibaphekela kwangale parafini. Kodwa ndifuna uqonda urhulumente uthini nangathi. Ndiphinde ndithi xa ndisithi ndisiya kwabantwana bethu abangamantombazana. Ndithi xa kuthiwa abantwana bethu bathengisa imizimba yabo. Ngala xesha omnye umntana ethengisa umzimba yakhe nje umzimba kube emva ekhaya. Uzofuna umsebenzi eGauteng. Qha akawufumani. Athi cebe kuba ibona ba izibane sicimile emva ekhaya. mandiyothengisa kodwa abantwana bethu bayafa kunjalo senze njani na.
Okay.
Enkosi.
So I think the pain is palpable.
Yes.
She's a single mother, raising children and grandchildren by herself. The little resources that she has, paraffin, she has to use to cook for these children. She wants to know what the government is going to do about it. But even more importantly, talking about sex workers, people who are selling women who are selling their bodies to make money, that there isn't a grasp and an appreciation of where they come from and the circumstances that have led them here. And I also noticed in her speech that there was no reference to any male figures present because they are absent and vacated the space. And perhaps those are the people now to whom we need to preach, the absent fathers, the rapists and the abusers. So that was the message. Naledi, you've been waiting to speak.
Yes, please. My brother, let me, first of all, we don't owe you to teach, we don't owe you teachings as men, ne? Because we also have to deal with our own frustrations when we are teaching ourselves. Nobody taught us feminism. We went and we checked and we researched by ourselves. And we come from lived experiences. So you, my brother, must take the initiative to go out there and learn, because obviously you're not reading up on these things. You're not researching on these things. Because if you did, you'd sound much more different, and that's how I know it. And then secondly, the fact that city patriarchy is problematic, you're proving it. You're proving that men are trash in the sense that we are talking, listen, I was actually quiet when you were speaking. Ne?
Okay, carry on, Naledi. Yeah.
Men, you're proving that men are trash because now we are talking about rape, we are talking about femicide, we are talking about women earning less than men, we are talking about women who can't breathe, we are talking about corrective rape. Even the term is even wrong, corrective, because suggests there's a correct gender to perform. Ne? And then when you want to come here and tell us about your feelings, when you're not telling us about the violence you are subjected to, you won't have to walk, you won't have to be scared or anxious when you leave this place, as much as black women in the space will have to be. And then now you want us to talk about your feelings because you feel you're being painted with the same brush. Ne? And then another third thing, the only thing that black men and men in general should be concerning themselves with is creating alternative masculinities. Because we are telling you now that we can't tolerate the masculinities you're giving us now. You must create an alternative masculinity in the taxi rank. We have to change it in the political space. This one that you're giving us now, we don't agree with it and it's not working. And you are proving that now.
From the 119
Speak louder,
campaign.
please, ladies. You said ladies.
Gladys Nikelo from the 119 campaign. Number one, I think also now we're not fighting about our issues with. We are fighting for a safe space. Because of the power is ni up. See, I feel. And that is why we are raging. And number two, can we, in memory of Fezega, let's not call her Kwezi again. Her name is Fezega. And yeah, good is always space, no, what is cool issues with. Masita ama safe spaces, sifunu kulma issues with. Ngoba baskulma power isisho yona lento le. Evidence tesikhuluma ngayo. Good master sikhuluma ngento serious ezislimazayo and then iyabheza la ho. Sikhathele.
Yes. Other people haven't spoken. It's one at a time. Let's give those who haven't spoken. It wouldn't be fair. Okay. Can you pass the microphone to the gentleman next to you? Oh, I thought there were two. Okay. You can speak. I'm coming to you next. When this time, I will give you a chance.
Dumela, Daniel Kolani, ke tswa Rustenburg. Yes, I'm a trash.
Yes.
And I need help. That is first point. The second point, I don't know the name of the lady, Kosadu lady. Zingiswa. I need your help. I have a lady friend. I was working with that lady, Patiswanyeba. Can you stand up? This lady, she was working at a mine. So one day I was coming underground, then I see her crying. I asked her, why are you crying? He said, this white chief boss, they were calling it a chief boss at the mine. Then he assaulted me. The people who were standing, watching that, they didn't even defend the lady.
Exactly.
So what happened? I said to the lady, go to the HR, go and look for a letter that refer to hospital so that they can check you whether you are injured or not. She went there, she got the letter, and the guy, he was fired. But because of that, because of what happened, the lady got fired. Because by Bam Trepa, you see, Bam Trepa, they want something that will relate to her. With Bam Koshi, because a certain white man, he was fired. So I need you to take her name and you help the lady, because your alliance, your NUM alliance, AMCO trade union, they betrayed this woman. And I don't have that power to help this woman. Please help this woman, because he's going to go on the street to sell his body, because he has a children to support. Okay. I'm so emotional. I don't know. I can't speak. You see, I want to cry, but please help the lady.
So, there's a reason I'm going to her. We haven't heard much from the LGBTI community, so there's a reason I'm going to her again. You know, so I want to obviously observe this moment and ask the women here, and you'll tell me in your different voices, how do we respond to men who say, I'm trash, I need help? That's a question, please think about it. But just dealing directly with it, I think at this point, it doesn't matter which union it is, which union. The fact of the matter is that this is what women are going through. And I also want to add something else that's just come to mind. Remember the 56 women who were suspended at Sibanye Gold because they refused to be searched. Those kind of things, Zingiswa, that your voices as women who are in union leadership and political leadership, they're not amplified enough when those things happen. But when there's a leadership contest, NDZ versus CR17, all of that, they seem to be a bit louder. And perhaps even the media must take responsibility, because what we cover is what stays in your consciousness, isn't it? So I'm acknowledging that. You can go ahead, Zingiswa.
Thank you very much, Reddy. And I will indeed put ndiye pha kusisi ndithathe details zakhe, and manditsho futhi ndithi kwi-trade unions akangokuqala ndizawutsho ndivume, ngoba i-case kaBhinki as COSATU working with NUM sahamba sotsho phaya futhi, and we marched to the Chamber of Mines raising these issues. NUM women's structure has even dealt with the issue that you were raising, Desiree, of the overalls, that now we are going to have two-piece, and also the safety of women in the mines, that the chamber must also ensure that umfazi akasebenze one ngaphansi kwi-mine, because you become victims as a result of that. Now, I'm not going to defend the system, because sonke singabafazi, even in trade unions, we are also victims of the system. I know personally, Reddy, what I had gone through to be where I am when I was vilified by general secretaries of trade unions, saying Kanye Lona, she is too forward, she must be dealt with. They even went to an extent of going to my former employer to say fire her, because she is that voice that we do not want to hear. So I'm saying the space that we're operating at as women in the trade union is also so difficult that it needs all of us as women to work together in dealing with the system.
Okay, this is what I'm going to do. There are lots of people who want to speak now. I'm going to go to you because you had the mic first, and then Nzagu, I'm coming to you after this. Ne? Go ahead, please.
Okay. My name is Petronella Ubusisiwene Wagamqadi. I'm from Positive Women's Network, representing HIV positive women living with HIV and AIDS. Gubhlungu into esihlangabezana nazo, like as we were coming, I passed ekhaya lethemba. I asked ukuthi what are the requirements mangabe umuntu udinga usizo. They told us about the case number ne protection order. They don't about 30 if you don't have those things. Like those are home of safety. Like mangabe umuntu wesifazana udinga usizo, uyahlukumezeka ekhaya, mhlamba urejwa. but uyahlukumezeka bakubiza ngamagama onke maybe bakutshela ukuthi awungeni la endlini ungaphethanga amanye amantombazana ayahamba avula inyawo iminyango ngeenyawo wena you cannot get a protection order enjalo amanye emakhaya bazokutshela ukuthi kena unabantwana omunye umngane wami bamtshela ukuthi oh unomntwana entombazana yo that's a treasure unenhlanhla because of uzophuma ahamba yenza imali and umama abanye I'm sorry to say this mama I'm the woman I'm the feminist umama ngabi namahloni ukuthi hamba mntana mphume uyobajija intamo like sending a girl child prostituting a girl child amthumele ukuthi ahambe ukuze sibe sisithole siku HIV ukuthi ke abazali bethu they don't protect us abantu ekufuneka bas protect they don't protect us.
Okay. All right, I think we heard that, and I think you raised something very important, that there are certain signs of gender-based violence that are not visible. Yeah. So if you go to a home protection, what do they call them? They want a case number or a protection order, but there's no provision for protection for certain kinds of violations. And Lebu, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this. In the same way that I do want to challenge women in positions of authority and power, it breaks me in the home when the burden is on the mom, that it's the mom who does this. Because as I'm listening, and I respect your story and your journey, I'm wondering what is the father saying at that time if the mother is sending, if the mother is... So there's just all these multiplicity of it. They're not there.
That's the point that I was making when I was saying only 14% of children who have two parents, we are not taking offense here, who have both parents. Yeah. And ask any woman who tries to go to maintenance court to get maintenance for children. Men have abdicated a legal responsibility to look after their children. And hence we get stories like that.
Okay. Thank you, Red. I'm Lester Ndebele. I'm from the Women Affected by Mining, United in Action. So I was thinking that today the government people will be here, that we come up with the methodology of how to dismantle patriarchy and inequality. Because if you can look back at what we were in the court last week, Monday, on the 19th, challenging the mining charter, because it says nothing about women, even about us who are from the affected part. So I think we must come up with something, with the methodology of dismantling this patriarchy and the inequality.
Yes, please. Talk, Mama.
Thank you, comrades. This is Eunice Ladla.
Speak up, please. We can't.
Eunice Ladla from Domestic Workers Union.
Domestic Workers Union.
Isatsau. Comrades, I've been touched by the other speaker here talking about getting raped. It's worse on domestic workers. Domestic workers are getting raped by their employers. And they are even afraid to say a word because they will lose their job. Yeah. And the wife employer will say, you are lying. You are so black to sleep with my husband. We had a case, comrade, which we lost. A worker who has been raped for 20 years. Quiet. At the end, the employer says, I will please bring your children to satisfy my dogs, and then yourself either. Then that is where the worker takes the case to the union. And we take the case also to sexual harassment project. Comrade, we are losing... I'm sorry, comrade.
It's okay.
Really, abasebenzi, they're even afraid to say a word because ekhaya uphume kungenanto. Kuthiwe mntanami hamba uyosebenza because you can see ukuthi your father is sick or maybe your father passed on. Akunamuntu ondlayo apha ekhaya. So umntwana acabange emuva azikhohlwe yena. Athi ke noma seya lapha ya e police station to report the matter, the same policemen do the same thing to her. Yeah. And asking some bad questions, questions abhedayo, how did you feel it when your employer raped you. So umuntu onjalo akasizwa comrade. So ke bomama nithini ngalento eyenzakalayo. And angeke size sithi sukumani nisisize. Sukumani ke namhlanje comrade. Niyayizwa into ephethe ama domestic workers.
Magolo ke le dumedisitse nna ka lebitso ke Tshenolo wa Moloto ke tswa ke le ko Kagiso. Mama ke utlile o bua ka taba gore o tlo nka di number tsa OC ka fale. How sure are we go tletsa follow up because wa re ba
We'll
bangata
chase it, don't worry. We'll chase it.
ba bangata wa re ba bangata ba ba leng mo tabeng eso and re itse yang rona re dutse mo gore o tletsa follow up ka yone.
Okay.
And a second thing ke gore nna ke na le problem ya gore since well abuti alla le ena ne are pelage e botlhoko ane rona re sampane re gola le nna ke ipona ke gola ane ha ke gola so ke batla gore go be le di solution gore at least le rona re gola re se ke ba gola ka ntwe eso. Remember re try gore re crash taba ya gore king
We are running out of time. I'm going to be a bit stricter with the comments, but I think we get the gist of what you're saying. And that's why we are here, that in 20, 30 years, when you are in charge of this country, if there is such a thing, you don't want to still be facing the same problem. That's what you're saying. All right, that's. I do want you to come in here because, again, I don't want this show to be guilty of not giving a voice to the LGBTI community. And also thinking about how high up the agenda are the issues that face you, the intersectionality that we all need, because we don't want to be creating divisions amongst us. It's the same cause. We are all together. Do you feel that there is hope? Do you feel that you can get a foot in so that you are heard?
Sure. 2 quick points that I wanted to draw into. As a gay and lesbian community, some people in this room might remember, not so long ago, we lobbied the president. We are tired. Our cases are not going into court. That when we report our cases, the dockets disappear and a whole lot of other things. I think where I'm wanting to take us with, and I'm wanting colleagues within Parliament, colleagues within your Chapter 9s, the unions to get is, we were provided as a forum, here's a national task team. But what you've realized with the National Task Team is that it has still required us and our bodies that continue to advocate for our rights. For the task team to work, it's civil society. It's us over and above the burden that we have. And I think the worry for me is when we say a way forward is coming up with a forum or coming up with a strategy that is still going to be placed in the hands of a government department, because all of the government departments have failed us. So that's one that I think I need us to realize that the solution is not going to be in the Office of Women, the gender machinery, or even a government department. There needs to be another way, and this other way must not cause us all the heartache that we're getting right now. And I think one last quick one is you know, a lot of us young people, a lot of our comments, you find them in social spaces. And I think the commitment that I want to be hearing from the men in the room is the one that is very much about in the spaces where we are at, when we are being violated, where we are being called names, that there shall be no more men that will keep quiet and not come to our defense. Thank you.
We're running out of time, so just closing comments from you, what you are taking away from tonight, and whether that's going to help in your work, whether it's going to be incorporated and taken into account.
I'm pleased because I'm taking away what I've always known. We've got a long way to go.
Andile?
You know, for me, it just, I get a sense each time we have these conversations, Guti, we are actually alone. You know, there is no political will, there's no kind of authority that is out there showing on a daily. Men's organizations, parliament, parliament. What are they doing in their streets with men around them?
I'm encouraged by the anger of young women in this country, because I believe our generation, post-94, we thought we are in Uhuru. It's not yet Uhuru for the women of South Africa.
20 seconds, Mama.
Males, I don't know how to say men, males must not think that they own us. We are human beings of different genders, full stop.
Okay, I do want Gender Links to say a few words because the salary issue was actually not addressed with the, with the conclusion, a clear sign of what we need to do about it. Very quickly.
Reddy, the thing that is incredible here is that nobody from government came to this panel. I like your idea of taking a tape to the president. Please do so.
I will. Singiswa?
Thank you very much. I think from what I've taken from here is that we think now too many workshops, we're over them. We know what are the issues. What we want is the change. And I think we must, as civil society, seated here, be united and make that voice that government must know that a political will, as it has been said, is what we need. We need implementation.
Leave it there. Thank you so very much for joining us this evening. And we've heard what civil society, trade unions and institutions like the Commission for Gender Equality can do if they work together. And our aim is to unite as women to change the system and to challenge men to listen and be part of this change. Thank you for joining the big debate.